Q&A, we will respond to those, as well as putting it in chat. We do have moderators to monitor all of that. So if you have questions throughout, don't hesitate to ask. We will pause in between to answer those questions. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and press forward. So most of you may be aware of what ServiceNow is, and we're really a platform of platforms for digital workflows. And what that is just a fancy way of saying that we help you get work done from beginning to end, that cradle to grave, in a seamless process that is purviewed in a single pane of glass. So having all of your workflows, connecting your IT systems to your HR systems, and having that ability to create a greater employee experience, as well as unlocking productivity and efficiency. And when we're talking about the platform, there are some intuitive and foundational items that are part of that, which is the workflow and integrations, but that CMDB really is what drives home the ability to do all of that work effectively and efficiently. There's a knowledge base and service catalog, as well as the machine learning. And we really pride ourselves on having one platform, that one lens, that single pane of glass, on one data model and one architecture. And what that really means is it's all the same code that's driving that experience. And when we're talking about these workflows, there's really 4 separate workflows that we have. We have our IT, which is anything revolving around the IT help desk, your IT business or operations, or including your security operations as well. There's your employee, which is anything that's related to the service of your HR functions, as well as servicing the employee throughout their life cycle on your business. So, in the Air Force, when a member is, raising their right hand, taking that oath until they retire, and even after that, when they become a civilian and retiree. And that's when they transition from employee to customer, so that they're able to still have that service, as well as their family members driving that. And if there's anything that isn't already encompassed out of the box from ServiceNow, that's where we bring in that app engine with the low code, no code environment, in order to enable you, the Air Force, to transition your business and to make it more effective and functional. We really struggle in the military with having that functionality of that bringing their home life to work, and that's where ServiceNow really ties everything in to integrate, utilizing the mobile, web, and conversational abilities. So having that Amazon or Siri-like experience, bringing that to the workplace is really what ServiceNow is about. We understand that we're not part of a lot of these legacy systems, but we can absolutely tie into them to enable a successful experience and transition for that automation. And so today we are going to focus on the IT service management, so the incident, problem, change. And that's really going to help you automate that process of, a customer submitting an incident, and then the art of resolving that incident. So today we're really going to be demo focused. So I'm going to stop sharing this and we're going to go right into our demo. Does anyone have any questions as I transition into our demo?
Jen, we are clear on the Q&A, so you can go ahead and demo up and I'll monitor that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Shawnee. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys a sample service portal. And this is just a great place, a landing page per se, for your airmen to be able to come in and be able to request incident help, get that self-service, that tier 0 assistance, and be able to do those things that they often tend to do for themselves in their home life. And so being able to transition that here in the workforce is going to be something that's really beneficial. And before I really delve into this service portal, I wanted to show a couple of other examples of service portals that ServiceNow has assisted with. One of those is the Ohio State University, the Ohio State. I have a cousin who actually went here, and he said that it was really easy to be able to function on this page. You have to actually be a user and have a log on in order to be able to access many of the features that are available. So it's just showing that role-based functionality, but being able to personalize this based off of what your requirements are is something that Ohio State was really concerned about. And the same thing with the DoD Smart Scholarship. This is just a really awesome way to be able to transform what your landing page looks like to meet your needs. These are all things that can be done out of the box, and it's low code, no code. So somebody can drag and drop these photos and being able to, have these images back here as well as color schemes. All of that to say we can make things fancy or we can make them simple. And when we're going through the process of ServiceNow and what we have to offer, when you're looking at a portal page, for example, we have many ways to be able to get the job done. And all we're trying to do is make it so that any user, no matter what their skill level is or their experience with a new page, would be able to get that same experience that they're looking for. Some of your users are going to naturally be able to find information just by looking at these icons and knowing, okay, well, that makes sense. I want to, figure out what's wrong with my email, or how can I, adjust email on my own. So that's where a knowledge base would come in. But you can also utilize a Google search and be able to find those answers as well. But there's also this virtual agent, and we're going to get into that here in a minute, because we're going to go ahead and open a ticket in this means. But there's also other ways, this top navigation bar, in order to navigate as well. So there's 3 or 4 ways to get to the same information that you're looking for. And what I love is that we have this ServiceNow logo, and that's really like your North Star. So no matter where you're at, you can click on this logo and it'll take you home. So with that, on this page, you're able to actually show current status items and anything that could be going on. You can actually highlight as well a banner item like they did on the DoD Smart page. So you can see the alerts or anything that's really important. You can minimize those, but that information will still actually stay here. And so as a user, what I'm trying to do is come in here and solve my own problems, right? So this virtual agent that I was talking about before really drives that capability of that self-help. And so today I'm going to write that I have an email issue. And so based off of our AI operations that we have in intelligence, we're able to dissect this information that I just wrote. It's just 2 simple words. And what this is doing right now is it's actually thinking about, okay, what can we do to support this user? And while that's thinking, we'll go ahead and talk about the getting help or the request something. You're actually able to go through a catalog to do the same thing that we're doing here. And so it's actually asking, based off of the email issue, what type of issue are you experiencing? Well, I can't send an email, or maybe my client is slow. I don't know what's going on specifically, but we're going to say for today's case, I can't send an email. There's something wrong. Everything's getting hung up in my outbox. And what this is doing is it's having a conversation with your airman to say, hey, here's a few things that we can try. This is based off of a conversation that we're building to see if we can, again, that tier 0 help, reduce the workload that is on your service desk for what could be considered something trivial. Maybe it was, there was an issue with the size of the email itself that you were sending. So these steps didn't work for me. Today, I'm still having some issues. Here's some other information that could be going on. Maybe there's some spam or phishing hacks going on, and this didn't resolve my issue as well. So what's going on is this is actually going to prompt me to see if I want to open an IT ticket. I'm going to say, yes, I need access to be able to send emails because my emails are important. And so what has just happened is that an incident has been created in our portal, and it has a priority, a state, and the category is software. So based off of the natural language, it has addressed that the email is software, and it's assigning it to the software group in order to get this addressed in a more efficient manner. So that's all I wanted to do today. So I'm gonna go ahead and end this conversation, and then it's gonna send me to a new conversation if I wanted. So that's just a nice intuitive way for your airmen to be able to access that self-help. And in the same means, as I was mentioning before, there is a catalog that you can go to in order to be able to access all of the same things. So I can create an incident from a tile-like experience, again, that Amazon-like experience, and create an incident here. And this could be based off of what's going on for me. I have issues. So I can also do that methodology here. So what I would like to do is take a pause before I go into the background of what the incident table looks like. So does anybody have any questions?
Jen, we do have a question in the chat. So Tim is asking, does that information pull out of the knowledge base, or where did those initial troubleshooting steps come from?
That is a great question. And the knowledge base itself, there are out-of-the-box capabilities and knowledge articles that come with ServiceNow that's based off of a common denominator for our business customers. And so we have found that there are certain information and articles that can be published based off of that can be tweaked based off of your preference. But we can also go through, and by working incidents, we can actually create knowledge articles as well through that. So hopefully that answers your question, Tim.
Thanks, Jen. You can continue on. That's the one question that we do have. We'll answer any from the chat going forward.
Awesome. Okay, so what you can see on my screen right now is that there's this navigation pane here, and then this is my home page. So as a service desk worker, I have a home page, but instead of going there, I want to go to this incidents page. And so what that is going to do, I have that saved as a favorite. But what that's doing is that's taking me to this portal that's going to assist me in creating or, utilizing my work. And as a part of this, you can look at this main interface, and you can see that there's just a few columns here, and these are just our fields. But maybe there's information in here that I actually want, so you're able to easily add other columns. And I noticed that priority was not in my column selection. So I can actually add that here, and I can easily make this view, and now I can see all of the priorities. And so that's something that's very easy for me to do as a sysadmin in the system, or as a service desk worker as well. And so one of the things that I like to do is being able to filter out the information that's important to me. So if I'm a part of the software team, I can actually right click this assignment group, and I can actually show matching, or I can filter out. In this case, I want to go ahead and I want to show matching for all the software assignment group. So now I can see anything that is actually assigned to us. So we drop down to 21 incidents that are currently either in progress or new, and that are active. You can actually see this breadcrumb trail here, and you can actually drag and drop this and create a new favorite. And I'm not going to do that right now, but that is something that is available to you to be able to save something that you have filtered. So any feature that we have in here, you're able to save that breadcrumb trail as a favorite. And while we're in here, we're just going to work through creating a report, because we all know that in the Air Force, there's nothing without reports. And so one of the things that I want to filter out and to be able to do is either create a bar or pie chart, and I can also configure the way that this is laid out. But what I'm going to do today is work through a bar chart. So all I did was click on that priority column, because that's how I want my information filtered out. And so you can actually see in real time what my bar chart would look like. But maybe I don't like the bar chart. Maybe I'm more like a donut person in the morning because it is morning. So I want it to be a donut instead. And now I can easily see this information. I can configure this by priority, but I can also add additional groups. So if I wanted it to not just be priority, I could actually add the state of the item of this incident. So I want to add state as an option to be able to filter this information. So I'm just going to go ahead and click next. And so now you can actually see that I can take out any critical, planning, high, or moderate items. So if I didn't want to view the planning items, but anything that's really important, I want to be able to see that, I can do that by priority. But I can also filter this by state, so either in progress or new. And it's just a method of being able to see your information and slice and dice it. So you're also able to save this information. So I can insert and say, I can save that. I can also run this here. And this option right here of sharing, this is where it's really important to be able to share that information. So we can share it. We can schedule this information so that it's running on a regular basis if you don't add it to a dashboard. One of the things that I want to do is actually add this to a dashboard because I want my supervisor, my PMO, to be able to see what's going on and why. And when I add it to a dashboard, I'm going to save this, and I can add it to the IT manager dashboard, but instead I want to add it to the service worker. So I'm going to add the service worker. No, not that. Sorry, I'm one-handed, guys, so please forgive me. So we'll just add it to the IT manager, and we're just going to add it to the overview just to add this dashboard. And what this does is this provides real-time information that can be drilled down into to be able to provide that information to your IT manager. So if they wanted to be able to click into anything that is a critical incident, it's automatically filtered that information for the IT manager to be able to help assign this item. Okay. So I know I went over a lot of information here. I'm going to take a pause as I, transition to the actual dashboards themselves. So are there any other questions, Shawnee?
Looks like we have one other question here. So great job emphasizing the dashboard. Thank you. So thanks, Kurt. Are you planning to go into more info on dashboards? Yes, Kurt, we're going to do that actually right now. Jen's going to dig in a little bit more.
Absolutely. Great job, Kurt. You're ahead of the game here. So one of the big things about dashboarding is the ability to see in one screen lots of information that's valuable to you as the user. So depending on your role, there may be a dashboard that comes out of the box from ServiceNow that is going to be important to you. So as a service desk worker, this dashboard right here is going to be super important to you. And there's a couple reasons for that. There's the weighted workload, but then there's critical incidents and open incidents. There's actually trends that we can assign and see. But we're able to actually select through all of these tabs. And so we can actually see what's going on. Here's the priority 1 incidents. Okay, this is the open incidents grouped. So we can go through each of these tabs for the work that's important to us. But I really personally like the prioritized work because that helps me as a service desk worker to make informed decisions based off of the weighted workload. And the reason that the weighted workload is so important is because there's actually this score. It's a spotlight score. And it's really important to be able to come in and address the issues that are really important to your airmen. And I know that when there are things like Oracle is impacted or email is impacted, that tends to bog down your service desk. And so one of the things that you can do is see the score, and we're going to highlight into here, the ability to actually assign scores or weights to each of the criteria. So the fact that this hasn't been updated in 30 days is really a high factor. And so we're going to weigh that at 1,000 points. And the fact that it's been reassigned more than 3 times, that's another, warning sign. So what we're essentially trying to do is say, hey, service desk worker, hey, Sergeant Barjall, we need you to work on this item here because this is really important here. So that's a means of being able to drive the efficiency and effectiveness of your service desk when responding to IT incidents. And another quick view that I'm going to go into is your executive view, because they're not going to want to see everything that we're looking at, right? As a service desk worker, what's important to me is not going to be important to my IT executives. And so one of the things that, really focuses in the big difference is the information that's now available. So they're able to make wise decisions based off of trend data. And so they're able to see customer satisfaction, the cost of service, and service availability. That's a really big hitting point when it comes to your customer service and the airman experience. Positive airman experiences equal service availability. So when MilPDS is down, people are upset. When VPC is down, people are upset. When email is down, your airmen are upset. So being able to see in a snapshot view as an IT executive, you're able to drive that information and be able to get to the resolution faster. And so what I'm going to do is kick this back to Shawnee, because she's going to walk us through the art of being a service desk worker and working through the incident and elevating that to a problem and a change. So I'm going to stop and pass it off to Shawnee.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Jen. Let me get this screen share going. All right, just for folks, and Jen, you can see my screen, correct?
Yes, I can.
Awesome, thank you. So for those of you who weren't here at the beginning, once again, my name is Shawnee Nicholas, and I'm a solutions consultant for the Air Force account. So today, as Jen said, during the second half of this demo, we're gonna go through incident, problem, and change management processes, discuss their relationships. Now, when we think about each item individually, incidents really point to a disruption of service or an issue that someone has, but a problem discovers the why, right? So in that problem management state, you're determining that root cause. And if something keeps breaking, change management comes in to not only approve of that change, but help with that implementation of those fixes that were identified by that problem management team. So as we get in here today, we're going to go ahead and go into my favorites, because I do have a favorite right here, and it's a particular incident list that I personally like to work from. So we're going to jump in to our incident list, and we're going to take a look at some of these email issues that are going on. So digging into the form itself, you can see a lot of this information is filled out for me, but going down to that activity stream, which as an analyst, you have access to that as well, same as the end users. We can see that not a lot is really going on with this ticket, but there's a lot of information. We have that impact, urgency, priority information available to us. But what that's really fueled by is our predictive intelligence. So Jen talked a little bit about this earlier in terms of the virtual agent, but predictive intelligence is that capability ServiceNow has to assist in routing tickets to the correct owners, using this short description provided, like Jen showed us earlier. But this is really important because it can get our analysts working on items faster, resolving issues sooner, and really allow them to focus on other incidents. So scrolling down the page, as I mentioned, we do have our activity stream available to us. We also have work notes available just to our internal teams. And then we have additional comments that are customer visible so they can provide additional information. What's really important here, and what's a differentiator right away, is our service level agreements. So remember, service level agreements are that ability to measure the time analysts should be tackling tickets. As we can see here in this business elapsed percentage, we are in the red. We use that stoplight mechanism, that green, yellow, red, to determine how quickly our SLAs are getting resolved if they are in breach. And it looks like it's been about 3 days and 14 minutes since this ticket was logged and it hasn't been worked on. So this is really important because there's other ways as an organization you can utilize this. Maybe you're tying it to your end users when this SLA comes through, or maybe you're tying it to when the analysts pick up the tickets. But all this is configurable from our ServiceNow platform. We also have affected CIs, so our configuration item that is affected by this ticket possibly. And we do have impacted services, those business services related to that configuration item. So thinking back to this SLA, I know how important these are within any organization that you're working for. And we are in breach right now of that SLA. So maybe as the system administrator, I want to go ahead in and add a different field for our analysts to make sure that they're really paying attention to how they're being measured on their performance with these SLAs. So we talk about how easy it is to configure in the platform, but we really do mean that. So we're going to go into form design. Now, getting into form design, you can see that we have our incident table displayed here at the top. We also have our default view. Now, there are a bunch of different views because, once again, as Jen said earlier, we are a persona-based and role-based platform. So dashboards will always come in different personas out of the box. And we also have some out-of-the-box views for this incident information. Based on who you are, there's multiple ways to look at information. So we want to keep that in mind when we're providing information to the customers. Now, you can see here, we have our incident form here. We have a lot of those same areas here. You can quickly move any of this information up and down, whatever works best for you. But to the left, we have our fields. So out of the box, we have a bunch of pre-configured fields for your utilization, but we also have different field types. So as an organization, you may have fields in particular that you're looking to utilize or add to a form, and you have the ability to do that right here. So I'm looking for something in particular to escalate this item. And sure enough, there is an escalation field. So we're gonna just drag it over, add it in, and we're gonna check out, what this escalation item has below it. We can see here, there's a mandatory field. So we do want to make this mandatory because we're going to hold our analysts accountable. And then we also have additional information. So this is how it's displayed. You can easily change this information. Maybe you want to use that stoplight mechanism of that green, yellow, red. But we're going to keep it for now. This works. And we're going to go ahead and save this. So upon saving in Form Designer, we're going to jump back to our incident itself. And we'll look to reload this page. And populated right here on this page, we're going to see our escalation area. We see that it's now mandatory, and we're going to go ahead and put it as overdue. So this is important when you think about, as a standard business user who isn't a developer or programmer, you have that ability in the ServiceNow platform to transform your forms and configure them the way you want them using Form Designer, because we want to meet your specific organizational needs. One of the other things I wanted to show you is we did touch on that configuration item earlier. So we're going to jump into something called our dependency view. Now, you can see in the dependency view, it's going to open up another window for us. You can see our affected CI, which is right here in the middle, and I'll zoom in just a second. But you can also see all the different business services it supports and what it's related to. So if anything is going on with our email server or there's any issues, we have the ability in our dependency view to see those affected business services as well. So now in our window, we're able to see our CI. We can zoom in here and we've got some icons that you can hover over. So we're able to see that we're going to be able to see here as you hover over items that there may be some additional information, but this is looking a little bit suspect when we think about a warning symbol. And as we scroll down and look at all these other items, you can see that there's some additional warning signs. So showing us that something's being impacted right now and maybe needs to be fixed. This is important because we are looking to determine that root cause and we're giving our analysts that ability to do so. So upon clicking into our details, we can see not only alerts related to our Tomcat server, changes that are currently ongoing, any incidents or problems going on here as well. We can see all the incidents related to this. We also can drill into our problems. So really important when you think about what we can see, we're providing that analyst ability in the CMDB. So not only do they find that root cause of what's going on, but we have that ability to not only follow up, but we can also remediate from this area. So going back to our incident, we now know what's going on. And I clicked on this context menu a little bit earlier when we went into Form Designer, but showing you again as a system admin, I have the ability to, create a problem from here, anything like that. But that's not what we need. We know there's a problem out there with email servers being down. So recognizing that, we're going to go into related search results. This is something that we didn't go over a little bit earlier, but I want to show you now because our knowledge base and service catalog are available to our analysts. That makes sense because when thinking about what we provide our end users, we want to make sure we cover every base. But more than that, providing them information on different knowledge articles, you have the ability to not only attach it here, but when you do attach that item, it will go ahead and send additional information. We have that ability to send additional information to our users. But what I really want to get to the heart of is thinking about those different open problems or incidents. This is important to think about because if you're new to an organization, that ramp up time can easily be shortened just by utilizing, the knowledge base, the service catalog, all this information at your fingertips. But we see our email servers down. We're going to go ahead and link this to our problem. And when we link it, it pops up for us and provides us information that this incident has been added to this particular problem. So what we can do now is we can copy this and we can go ahead and go into our problem. So let's go ahead and do that. Any questions while we're kind of going through this? I have a favorite here where we can.
We do not have any current open questions, Shawnee, so you are good to keep going.
Awesome. Okay, so we started talking about incident, problem, change, how each of these processes can be interrelated. So incident pointed to that IT service disruption or an issue. Now we're going into our problem, which really determines the why. So maybe we've done that already as an analyst, but it looks like based on our problem management process, David Liu has found that himself and he's in our root cause phase. So as you can see, a little bit different look and feel to this page, but we have our workflow here at the top, kind of determining where we are currently. This is easily configurable and can be changed based on your organizational requirements or needs. And scrolling down here, we can see, once again, those work notes, that activity stream. It doesn't look like there's a lot going on, but we have different information in these tabs here. And what we see is there was a workaround that has been identified, and then there's cause notes as well. But the most important piece to this area is that primary known error article. So problem management and knowledge management have a really strong interface together so that known error articles can be documented thoroughly and referenced in the future for our analysts. So anything going on with this Tomcat server can be documented so it doesn't happen again. We also have resolution information. It looks like they have that fix that they've desired and looked for, but they need approval to do this. So going down to the bottom, we see all of our incidents that are linked to this issue. We can once again see our affected CI, but it doesn't look like there's any change requests. So there's different ways to, once again, we can add it here and create a new one, but we can also go to our context menu once again. And with change, there are 3 different types of change that we have available out of the box in our ServiceNow platform. You can create a normal change, which is a change without a predefined plan, but you are required approval for this. And we have our standard change. Standard changes don't require approval, but these are preset conditions that your organization will likely have that minimize, if any or no service disruption. And then we have our emergency change. So these are unplanned changes that still require approval, but they are necessary to restore service. Knowing that this email is a huge problem and it's due to our Tomcat server having some issues, we're going to go ahead and create that change. Once again, now we're in our change form. You can see our workflow at the top, different from our problem management teams, where you have all of what's going on. And this workflow is based on our ITIL best practices that we found. Once again, different requirements dependent on your organization. You're welcome to easily configure and change that. And then we still have all of that initial information in. We're going to go ahead and add our assignment group, and we're going to keep it with software because we know that they have been the ones getting the job done on this item. And so looking down at our tabs, once again, they've changed. We have planning information. We're submitting a change to our change advisory board. We need to make sure they have all the facts and information of why this needs to happen now. So we've got our justification, implementation plan, any risks or impacts to this. We also have our schedule. Let's provide information to them on when we want to start and end this item. Though we could just put it a month out, let's just see anytime in the month of August. We really just need it now. And we're going to require CAB approval on that. So what happens when we save this item? We're going to authorize it first, but what happens when we save it? we see a few different things happen. We see our workflow kick off, right? We've gone from new and assessed to now we're in that authorized state. But we also see a little bit of a warning signal that there's schedule conflicts detected. This is extremely important to our change managers when we think about this, because the purpose of our CAB managers and our change management teams is to minimize that IT service disruption. So by coming in here and taking a look, we can see all the conflicts that are related to our change requests that we're putting in. But more than that, coming down, we see our impacted services as well. We also see that there's approvals that have been requested. But as the service administrator, we do have the ability to go in, right? We've tracked this item heavily and extensively. Now, before we do that, let's show you one other piece of this. This is the workflow of our emergency change requests. So we've started at the beginning, we've moved along, and you can see these items in blue are the finished items. It provides you additional context and information about where we are in the process, that we're currently waiting on this change approval. And so that's in green, that's where we currently are. Now, quickly and easily, if needed, we can go ahead and get this approved. So when we approve that, and we go ahead and just click here, refresh the page, you can see that these approvals are no longer required. Now, ServiceNow is flexible enough to enable customers to set the conditions of these approvals. So maybe we only need one change manager. Maybe we need someone who's higher up and based on role and rank to approve this item. Or maybe you need all of your change managers to approve. But regardless, we have our approval ready. And just going back to that workflow, upon refreshing this page, we now see we've moved out of that change approval process and a lot of different items have finished. So just seeing how that workflow works in the background is extremely important. More than that, it's notifying our teams, maybe that are managing that Tomcat server, that a change request has been implemented for it. So one other thing I wanted to show you all, just one of the last pieces that I want to show you today, is going into our CAB managers profile. So Kristen Michelle is our CAB manager. And if we think about being a CAB manager, you're always organizing, you're trying to schedule and plan and manage all of these different things for our CAB meetings to be prepared. And what we're going to get into really quickly here is showing our CAB Workbench. So coming into the CAB Workbench itself, we just see when our next change advisory board meeting is scheduled, but we could drill into this information and open it. So when we open this item, well, as it loads, we see not only that there is a certain layout and a particular look and feel, but our CAB managers can manage that meeting directly from this. So we can start the meeting here, and I'll go ahead and kick this off. We see that it's 120 minutes. As we do that, not only does a clock start on this item in particular, but it pulls up all the information related to this. And not only does it pull up that information related to this item, but it also provides that planning information that we saw, that justification and implementation plan that they have. And another piece to that is our scheduling. So we can also go into this calendar as we look to deconflict, minimizing that IT service disruption. We can see here anything that's ongoing, and we can see where our changes right here, and that it's not affecting anything else. So once we approve this item, and we can watch this, once again, we have our stoplight mechanism. It's one of our favorites here at ServiceNow. You can see that that green is turning, and it will slowly get to red, yellow, and then red, and that time will change based on that meeting. For our users too, you can also take meeting minutes here. So everything is implemented there. And you can add attendees, and it will provide different notifications to our attendees who are supposed to be attending this meeting. So we'll approve this item. We see it switched to 1, and we can provide comments on that approval if needed. And as we do that, it moves on to our next item that we have on the list. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and bring it back in. I wanted to go ahead and open up the conversation for questions regarding our IT service management processes. I know that was a lot of information to digest, but looking forward to some of the questions and things like that folks want to talk about.
Great job, Shawnee. I know that Kurt asked a question about some predictive intelligence. Can you speak to the capability of predictive intelligence when it comes to the service desk?
Yeah, so our predictive intelligence helps to route work to your enterprise effectively. So thinking back to when we talked about predictive intelligence having that capability to route tickets correctly, it comes that way out of the box. But one important piece to think about with predictive intelligence, it utilizes natural language to route tickets effectively, but it uses machine learning. So when you initially get your instance, it's going to pick up on, hey, where these tickets are going, or if a ticket ends up needing to be rerouted for any reason. And it picks up and learns as you go. So as the more tickets that are logged, the more incidents, anything like that that is logged in our service portal or by our internal employees, the easier it is that predictive intelligence is to understand what's going on in your organization and route tickets more effectively. I hope that answers your question. I can always send you a white paper, page or two on predictive intelligence to ease your mind a bit.
Yes, and also to bring up, next week, we're actually having a predictive intelligence and AI ops session here next week. So just a great way to segue into that. So right now, there are no other questions, but I'd love to leave it open. Actually, here's another one. So can you attach supporting documentation to a change request? If so, how will the documentation be stored? And how are the dependencies for CI mapped? So that's 3 big questions. So let's answer the, can you attach supporting documentation to a change request?
Simple answer, yes. So, and I can show you this really quickly. I will pull back up my screen. Sorry, I dropped that. So yes, you can attach supporting documents to a change request. Right here at the top, we've got our little attachment icon, and you can choose files, attach documents right here from the ServiceNow portal, right on that change request.
Awesome. And then how are the dependencies for the CI mapped?
So we use our service mapping, and I believe Tyler and Gain are on, who can speak to how we map our CIs a little bit more. I don't know if one of you want to jump in.
Yep, absolutely. Thanks, Shawnee. Can you guys hear me?
Yep. Thanks,
Awesome.
Gain.
Cool. All right. Yeah. So we can map our CIs through our discovery capabilities. So what we do is we have a discovery application that can traverse through your network, run all these different pings and things like that, and build these service maps for you. So Shawnee, if you don't mind clicking on the configuration item over there. Yep, there you go. So this is what we automatically build from leveraging our discovery, and to kind of tie it back to the document question, you can actually attach documents for each of these CIs as well, right? So that's that, and all these documents are stored as blobs in the database, if that makes sense.
Thank you so much, Gain, for answering that question for us. Hopefully that answered your question. If there are any other questions, please don't hesitate to ask. We're going to go ahead and keep this open for everyone until 12 o'clock. But if there aren't any other pertinent questions right now, we would love to give you guys back 13 minutes of your time. So with that, we'll go ahead and end, but we will stay here until noon. So thank you guys so much, and hopefully we will see you here next week for the Predictive Intelligence AI Ops Community Tech Talk for the Air Force. So with that, have a great day, guys.